Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Ninja Funèbre titled Stop. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves the track on the screen on Spotify with the art here looking pretty hardcore. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Should also note at the end I'm going to be providing an overall score based on various musical criteria for this track, but for now let's go, let's do it. What have we got? Great use of Foley with the knocking. Oh, it's ferocious. I mean, it's visceral, isn't it? Double kicks. I mean, that's visceral. I'm gonna talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from Ninja Funèbre, titled Stop. In this section, we're going to provide an overall song analysis of everything, lyrics and vocals, all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. I should also note that I've given this track an overall score of 7.8 based on the various musical criteria below. I feel like there's a lot of positives to this track, and we're going to talk about them more in a minute. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think that, from what I can tell, because I didn't get all the words through clearly, partially, I think because the effects changed, the distortion, some of the phasing that we have on the vocals, which like texturally were very interesting. I think if I was to kind of get the hang of it, it's almost like we've got this outpouring of emotions, like can you hear the boom or something along like that. We talked about oceans as well there at some other stage. Like it kind of gives me the feeling that maybe we're sort of like drowning and stuff, and we're trying to find a way to sort of stop whatever is tormenting us, but at the end we just have this massive kind of like explosion in terms of like what we're feeling at that point in time. If I'm not mistaken, I was talking to one of my music students about this yesterday. There's this like rage, a kind of music called rage. It's fairly heavy. It's very heavy, but I appreciate that primarily because I think when you create music, the last thing you want to do is censor yourself in the names of trying to make a safe arrangement or performance here. For Ninja, this is incredibly sort of like intense music, but they're clearly like the vocal fry, just how kind of gritty and gruesome it is, the way they're very sort of throaty about it, it's loud, it's intense there. They're able to sort of say stop and things come to a close for a moment, but then it continues afterwards. There are some sort of like growls or screams at other parts there. It's aggressive, but in a way where I think it's almost tempered by the fact that we aren't sort of like committing to a full sort of like middle acoustic drum kit. we have these interesting sort of like trap samples in amongst the distorted components there, and it kind of creates this interesting situation where when you have those double kicks in the later half there with a mixture of 16th and 32nds, it's just a different kind of texture and tone from a double kick pattern I'm used to, predominantly because I'm used to a lot of the kind of more sort of like, you know, guitar, bass, drum, like kind of the middle kind of stuff. But like we're combining different elements of genres here to create these sort of like more like niche amalgamations. And I think that it's just a different way to approach subject matter in a way that's kind of catchy because of the phrasings of the kind of more like rap and hip hop leanings of the kind of cadences of the vocals. But then just the kind of fieriness of it makes it a bit more elevated and intense. And I think that's an interesting vibe. So ultimately, I think that we harmonize nearly with the components that we surround ourselves with in the track. So that feels innately natural. And we allow ourselves to have room to appreciate either like the foley, the knocking of stuff beginning the intro before we go into the room. I thought the foley with the knocking was quite well done. But we also allow ourselves to enjoy the different guitar takes, whether they're pick slides or sort of like upwards, or the Phrygian modal kind of boom, boom kind of main sort of bass line that we oscillate through the piece. I feel like a lot of those are done well. So the vocals are handled neatly. We communicate well. And I think that the kind of like structure of this track, again, from that intro section there, with just the kind of very kind of lo-fi aesthetic to the guitars, bass, and drums, like before the knocking, before we come in and sort of like continue our tale there, and like the tape record starts there, you know, you're introduced and then there's like a stop and then we're kind of going straight into it. It's just a very interesting start to proceedings. There's like this innate tension with those 16th note hi-hats there, as the guitar drones in the ether there, going between those two notes in the lower end of its scale. And when we have the 808s come in a bit later on as the vocals screech over top, you have this really sort of like extreme kind of like atmosphere to it, where it's like overwhelming. It kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the stuff I've heard from Death Grips. I don't know if I'm still kind of getting familiar with stuff here, but just again, I like how the vocals adjust their feel through use of like phasers and stuff on them to kind of make them sort of twist and turn. And like you change the intensity or the amount of guitar playing that you have, sometimes focusing just on the 808s, kicks, and vocals. But when the guitars do come back in, that mid-range is filled quite neatly with the filtering involved. And it's just an interesting aesthetic all around. And I think it's the same kind of bass pattern the entire time, which I think, like, that's totally fine. I don't mind that at all. I think that if you can adjust the way that you communicate with the listener, if you can adjust the different instruments within the stereo field and the frequency spectrum, if you can have moments of pause and like silence and space there to appreciate what's come before and after, I think that's good. The transfers are typically seamless. But just how kind of choked and kind of claustrophobic things are with those natural harmonics in guitar, as well as the alternate palm mute kind of chugs on the rhythm section, it's feral. And I think that it's just very neat. It kind of reminds me of some of the early 2000s metalcore, but in a more refined and less kind of true to like the middle side. Like, to be fair, there was like rapping and that kind of stuff. It's an evolution of certain genres that have come across over the last 20 years, and we're coming to its like apex. But I like that from a general sort of like environmental perspective, you have all these harsh, gritty, distorted elements, and it suits the mood of the vocalist, their expression there. And I think that the thing that ties it together in a neat bow, aside from the studio production we'll get into in a minute, is the actual theme of it. It's predominantly sort of like Phrygian mode, flat second oriented, but we have the root note, and then we have 0 and then 1, and we have those bends on the guitar that add this sense of additional tension to it, like they're whirring backwards and forths, like things are fraying at the seams, and you just combine all these things, and it's just very well thought out and calculated. It made me feel a bit overwhelmed, but not uncomfortable at the same time. Like you feel for Ninja Funèbre as they kind of go through this, but you also understand that it's something that they need to do in order to get these things out. Studio recording, mixing, and mastering wise, again, nice balancing of the different kind of knock kind of like tape deck starting parts there. The guitars, bass, and drums are well niched within this frequency spectrum of stereo field without any resonant frequencies. It's choked, it's loud. There's not a lot of dynamic range from a compositional. No, there is dynamic range from a compositional perspective. It's just when it's going, it's loud. When it's not, it's quiet. Or like there is nothing. We have those stops there for adjustments with the intensity, which I appreciate. And ultimately the side chaining of those double kicks in addition to the snare and cymbal patterns is good. Again, it was really cool to have a middle kit, like drum kit with those sort of like trap samples there. That's something I haven't really heard a lot of, and I think I'd like to hear more of it. And again, the use of the phasing as well as the kind of bit crushing of the vocals as well to kind of make them a bit more sort of like spicy is well handled as well. Ultimately, these elements work together neatly. There's no issues with the post-production. Nice and loud bus compression limiting is handled. Ultimately, just kind of a unique performance experience for me. No applicable constructive critique. And finally, from a general listener's perspective, I just like they were combining, again, I know I've mentioned this before, but they were combining these sort of trap and metal elements there with the kind of vocal styles in a way where we're still finding niches through these combinations of things. It makes me excited for the future music in a world where there are a lot of people who are simply either going the sort of like what's done before route or getting, you know, like AI music and stuff. It's nice to hear musicians that really care about what they're doing and are putting the effort in to kind of create their own sounds. I wish Ninja Funèbre the best of luck in future with the music. But thank you for watching my review of this track from Ninja Funèbre, titled Stop. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists one in time. I just need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.